And this week we fired our immigration consultant. I hate the word fired because it sounds so mean. But since we hired him, our plan has completely changed because we found out through the lovely community here that there is a bill called C3 that's currently going through Parliament that could grant me citizenship to Canada through my grandmother, because depending on what happens with Bill C3 in Parliament, we'll know more around November 20th. It may not go through fully then, where it's kind of all up in the air because, governments, we don't know when things are going to actually go through. But when we talked to Don Chapman, who's in charge of the Lost Canadians movement, and he has been pushing for this for 2 decades, Don Chapman advised us to just get the paperwork in, and if they need more information or if things change, then at least we're in the system if things go the way that he thinks that they're going to go. So, hi, I'm Jen. And I do things. And right now, the thing that we are doing is my family and I are in the process of immigrating to Canada. We are moving from the east coast of the US all the way across the continent to Vancouver Island. At least that is the plan. And it is a lot, my friends. It is a lot. And I wanted to update you on what's been happening over the past 4 days. I'm trying to update you about every 4 days. So really the big thing that you need to know first, especially if you are coming into this journey now, is that we're waiting on a lot of things. There are a lot of things up in the air, which is causes a lot of anxiety because we don't know what's going to happen when they come down. First thing is that we don't know if my oldest is going to be accepted to UVic, University of Victoria. We do not know what's going to happen with Bill C3 that is going through Parliament right now. If it does pass the way that it is written as of now, I would be eligible for Canadian citizenship, and so would my children, but we don't know. It could not pass. We don't know. It could pass differently. We don't know. It's all up in the air. The other thing we're waiting on is the study permits for my husband and my son. My husband will be going to Camosun. He has an acceptance to Camosun College, and my son would be going to high school on Vancouver Island. So there's lots in the air. And in that, we also need to plan things here. So yesterday, we had someone come to our house from our realtor's office. We work with an amazing realty company. They've sold a bunch of houses in our neighborhood. And also our realtor is the one that helped us to get this house. So they're very familiar with us. We're familiar with them. We love them. So what they do is, last time I showed you that they sent over someone to photograph the outside of the house before the trees lose their leaves for the season. And those came out beautiful. The next step was to send over a stager. So her whole job is basically to help us figure out what we need to do to the inside of the house and the outside of the house before we sell it. What's it going to take to make it look like a place that somebody wants to buy? And one of those things that's really popular right now is basically taking all of the personality out of the house. Anything that makes it feel personalized to somebody else, you'll want to get rid of. You want it to look like a blank slate so people can dream their own dreams in your space. And also the coloring of things, there's certain trends and all of this and all of that. And her job is basically to pick apart everything in the whole house. And after she came and she picked apart everything, we realized that we're talking so much money to make this the most perfect house to go on the market, which would be next spring, early April of 2026. And it's a lot of things. Some of them are necessary, some of them are not. Some of them are things that, yes, absolutely we need to do, but a lot of them are more cosmetic. They're things that will help us compete better with houses in our price point. This is where we get stuck because we have, like I said, we have all these pieces up in the air, right? We have all these things that we don't know where they're going to land, and we're talking spending $50,000 to get this house ready to sell when we still have all these things in the air. And that is causing me so much anxiety. I just had about an hour and a half conversation with my husband, just talking about, like, what if for some reason it doesn't work out and all the chips fall in the wrong place and we can't move to Vancouver Island? What will we do? And it was a really hard conversation because there are other factors than just loving Vancouver Island why we want to move not necessarily from our state or from our neighborhood, but from our country. There are a lot of things that are happening that make us just want to be somewhere else, for lack of a better term. And what I was trying to say to him is that, like we've talked before on this channel, is that nowhere is a utopia. There's always going to be problems everywhere we go. You know, Canada is not perfect. There are things in Canada that are not perfect and not ideal. You all have told me so many of them, between, you know, the jobs, the medical access to general practitioners, Vancouver Island, you know, having to get to the mainland if we need to. There's so many pieces that are not perfect. And one thing that we've talked about, not to get too political, but the rise of fascism is everywhere all over the world right now, which is absolutely freaking terrifying. And like I was saying, I was like, I don't want to go from, you know, alligator infested waters to shark infested waters, because either way you're going to get eaten. It was a really hard conversation, but what we decided on is, if for some reason Vancouver Island does not work out, if we can't move to Canada, if the chips all fall in the wrong places, that we would still sell our house and move. It would just be somewhere else. And that's really hard to think about, because, you know, this is not just affecting myself and my husband, but my kids. It's affecting my son while he's still in high school. And he's really not wanting to leave his friends. He's really, you know, he has the very normal feelings of a 14-year-old who's going to be uprooted from his life. And it's so hard to see him losing things. It's so hard to make decisions as a mom to make him lose things and wonder, am I doing the right thing for my kid? My oldest, Phoenix is cool. Like, Phoenix is ready to go. Phoenix is done. Phoenix is tapped out. Phoenix is like, well, I'm ready. Let's just go, right? Phoenix is so much easier with it, but my son, it's a little harder. And I see that in his eyes, and it's hard. It's so hard. And as a parent, if you're a parent, you know parenting is not easy. There's no instruction manual. There's all kinds of hard decisions. But I think in the end, you know, like my husband was saying, there's so many places around the world that are better places that fit our family and our morals, and are going in a direction that more aligns with where we want to go with our family, where we want our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren to, where we want them to be, that are better than where this country seems to be going. Now, one thing my mom has said to me before is that, you know, the way that our politics goes here in the US a lot is that it goes this way, and then it goes this way, and then it goes this way, and it goes this way. And it's like, yes, that's true. But as it's doing this, we're going this way, right? Look like I'm going to give you a hug. We're going this way. And you can only go offshoot from that forward path. And we chose a path as a country. And that path is the only direction we can go. Yes, we can go a little, you know, politically one way or the other, but we're still going down that same path. And there are still people that have come out of hiding and have become more bold in their hate, and become more bold in fascism. There's no kinder way to say it. It's hate, and it's white supremacy, and it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. And we know that Canada has their own, there are people also that believe in white supremacy in Canada. There's people that believe in white supremacy all over the world. And I think that's where I have the hardest time, is that there's so much up in the air, and we're making such big decisions without really knowing fully what's in front of us. You know what I mean? The path is not, it's like walking through the woods, and then there's brush to where you think you're going the right direction, but you don't know when you clear the brush in front of you, when you walk down that path, what's really going to be down the road. We don't know. We have to go blind, and it's terrifying. So that was this week. Was just really coming to the realization that we're not going to know. We're not going to know if this is going to work out. We're not going to know if we're making the right decision. We just have to make an educated guess that the path we're going on is better than the other path we could choose, because staying is a choice too. Everything's a choice, whether you stay, whether you go, whether you speak, whether you're silent, it's all a choice. Even if it's inaction. Inaction is also a choice. And we're choosing to take action. And we just kind of have to hope that things will fall in the right place and that we'll end up in a good place when all of this is said and done. And I'm hoping that it's Vancouver Island. There's a lot. We just want it so bad. And there's just so much out of our control. And the thing is some people will never understand why this is so important to us, and that's okay. One thing I say a lot on my other channel is that you never know the perspective of a life that you'll never live. I'll never know what it's like to be a farmer in rural China. I'll never know what it's like to grow up in Canada. I'll never know what it's like to have lived through apartheid in South Africa. All I know is my own life and what I've lived. So I understand why people don't get why this is so important to have us move. I get that. But I think the most important thing in that is not to assume that you do know when you don't. And it's okay not to know things. It's okay not to fully understand things. I think the most important thing in that situation is just to listen and to say, okay, that's someone else's experience. It doesn't have to be deeper than that. But yeah, so it's been more, rather than events, I usually kind of chronicle the events of the week. It's been more of an emotional journey this week of coming to the realization that I'm leaving the only home I've ever known, the only area I've ever known. Of course, I've lived in different houses, but this is the only area I've ever known my whole life, to move the entire way across the country, and just wondering, is this actually really worth it? Is this actually something that I need to do? Because this is freaking terrifying. And we do think that it's something we need to do. But that's the update. That's what happened this week. So we'll see. And I'm going to keep updating you. I'm going to keep coming back. Hopefully every 4 days. I've been doing good so far, and updating you on how things are going. Next steps, John's going to talk to our realtor today after the lady came through and she kind of evaluated everything. The next step is actually to talk to our realtor, who actually takes people through houses like ours, and see what he thinks as far as what we actually need to change. Because it's going to be a huge investment, and we need to decide whether we need to paint the entire inside of our house or whether we just need to paint a few rooms, because our paint does look good. It's just not the trendy color. So, I mean, it's natural colors, but it's not the natural color. It's not the trendy natural color. We're definitely going to be replacing the carpets. That's a given, because we want our carpets to look nice. We're going to replace some ceiling fans. That's definitely happening. But my husband built out a gym over here that maybe I'll show you at some point. He built out a gym, but it's kind of in a weird spot because there's no door to it. It's just kind of open in the basement. So we're going to ask him about that, whether we need to do that, to take down the gym and put carpet back in, because it's got one of those rubber mat floors. We're going to start doing some things around the house and see how things go, just one step at a time. But I want to thank you again for being with me and for being there and for all the wonderful things and the advice and all of the conversation. And, I don't, like I've told you last time, I don't know what's real about Vancouver Island and about Canada without you, because I've never lived there, and a lot of you have, and your information is so valuable to me. So thank you for that. I hope you continue to be happy and well and safe, and I will see you in a few days. Bye.